A 2019 Gallup poll showed that 43% of Americans viewed socialism favorably.
We are unstoppable! Another world is possible!
And recently, popular American politicians have been embracing the term.
She's a socialist. She wants 10% tax rates. Those are both accurate, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
At the same time, political figures on both sides of the aisle have been increasingly using the word socialism as a slur to smear their opponents.
I think what we're seeing here is full socialism on display.
So if they are claiming socialism, this is what I say. I want to protect our capitalist system.
America will never be a socialist country.
So how did socialism become such a dirty word?
So socialism has a long, complex history in the United States.
This is Professor Richard Wolff, economist and visiting professor at the New School University. He says that socialism is a 150-year-old concept that went
from a set of ideas in Europe to a set of ideas that exist in every country on this earth.
Socialism is a political ideology that was popularized in the 1800s with philosophers like Karl Marx, who wrote about the struggle of the working class against a rich elite who held power. Today, socialism is widely defined as the even distribution of profits and resources for workers, rather than that wealthy minority. It can mean anything from workers collectively owning their workplace,
and we want to stand out until we get what we want,
to raising the taxes on the wealthy for social programs.
And we cannot afford a billionaire class.
And so it is basically a desire to go beyond, to do better than capitalism.
Socialism in its many forms has had broad support in America at different times.
It got particularly intense back in the 1930s because we had a great collapse of capitalism in 1929, the Great Depression.
To help America recover from the Great Depression, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the Democratic Party pushed through a set of social welfare programs collectively called the New Deal. The New Deal raised taxes on corporations and the wealthy to pay for programs designed for the middle class and working class.
It, of course, horrified the people who sit at the top of capitalist society. They had never been treated that way in American history. Then we had a war, World War II.
The people of the United States will not stand idly by.
In that war, the United States was allied with the Soviet Union, an officially socialist country. It was the worst nightmare for capitalists and wealthy people you could imagine. So when Roosevelt died in 1945, the wealthy in America saw their chance to undo the New Deal, to go back in American history to the way it was before capitalism crashed in 1929.
Roosevelt passed the New Deal by bringing together a coalition that included labor unions, socialists, communists, religious groups, and more.
The business community, they decided its weakest link were the Communist Party people. So it said communism is evil. How is it evil? Because communists aren't really the militants who organized workers to get the New Deal through, which is really what they did, but instead they are the evil agents of a foreign power.
Are you a member of the Communist Party? Or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
Basically since the end of the Second World War. Politicians who wanted to smear another candidate, their opponent in a race, used an epithet. They called someone a socialist.
Those crazy socialists down over in West Jackson, they want us to stop eating hamburgers.
This is Kali Akuno, co-founder and executive director of Cooperation Jackson, a network of worker-owned cooperatives in Jackson, Mississippi. Cooperation Jackson has advocated for campaigns such as the fight for a $15 minimum wage and governmental measures to curb climate change. They also have a land trust dedicated to putting property that they have accumulated in Jackson into community control. This makes Kali the kind of socialist who wants the workplace to be something
that workers build, they collectively own, they collectively manage.
And it has nothing to do with getting rid of people's hamburgers.
This is a city which is over 80% black, so articulating that wealth needs to be distributed in a profoundly different manner is a message which is well received here. More people are coming to this kind of realization. I think particularly after the financial collapse of 2008, I say that we should embrace it and start really articulating what socialism is to make clear distinction between the claims that are being made against us as opposed to what it is and how it would benefit everybody in this society. Trump and the Republican Party are going to cast every major social reform demand that's put out there as socialist.
Republicans frequently said Obama is a socialist. I think to any Marxist that would be quite laughable.
This is our colleague Alexander Kaufman, senior reporter at HuffPost covering climate change, environmental policy, and politics.
Any kind of moderate has been called a socialist.
Barack Obama is a socialist.
That label has lost a lot of its potency as you have seen the rise and the popularity of politicians who do actually identify as democratic socialists. People like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York, people like Bernie Sanders from Vermont. You know, these are people who say very proudly, yes, I embrace socialism, I embrace democratic socialism.
One of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's signature policy proposals has been the Green New Deal. Echoing FDR's New Deal, the proposed legislation aims to address climate change and income inequality.
The response to it, similarly, is almost identical.
They're trying to perpetuate a socialist agenda.
The last thing we need is for the socialist delusions of the Green New Deal.
This is un-American. This is, communism dressed up in sheep's clothing. This is, actually going to ban hamburgers.
They want to take away your hamburgers.
What are they saying? We're going to ban hamburgers?
Seems like they want to get rid of hamburgers.
This is what Stalin dreamt about but never achieved.
Quite confusing.
One of the Green New Deal's proposed policies is a jobs guarantee in clean energy industries. The idea has been portrayed as unrealistic by critics, even in the Democratic Party.
We can't promise every American a government job.
But Alex says,
the U.S. military has been a sort of job guarantee for a lot of people for decades, not to mention all the other programs that were called socialist when they were first enacted, and we've grown very comfortable with them. An 8-hour workday, the weekends, unemployment protections, child labor laws. These are all things that were initially pushed by people who considered themselves to be socialists or considered themselves to be influenced by those Marxist critiques of a market system.
We have to remember the collective struggles of people to attain many of the things that we now take for granted. We need to flip the script on the narrative that socialism is bad.
And you have that to the present. Bold statements like President Trump's that this country
will never be a socialist country.
Every country has socialist newspapers, socialist parties, socialist movements. It is something that has excited and attracted people on a scale that few movements have ever achieved in the history of the human race.
Is socialism inherently un-American? Well, I guess, the definition of what is American changes constantly, right? The beauty of America is that it is inclusive and malleable and has been interpreted many ways by many people. So is socialism as American as apple pie? I guess that depends on how you see sharing that pie.